Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 129 of the High Sensitivity Podcast, and thank you for listening. If it's your first time here, we talk about video game and movie news, as well we watched or played over the week. My name is Barry, along with this cursed episode are my co-hosts.
My name is Craig. We're back again. We're doing it live. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
My name is also Craig. What a fitting start to the Halloween month by having a cursed episode with the oohs, spooky.
You know, maybe it's October that's making me record this podcast 7 times. It's just that
Yep.
it's spooky and some ghost has invaded my computer.
Yeah,
Lovely.
That.
And you know what else is invading our podcast? The news.
Nice segue.
I'm actually
that's like a 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10.
I was about to say that might have been. I thought that one might have been worth restarting the podcast over again. Like that.
Oh,
that
wow.
segue was a lot better than what we had originally.
Yeah.
Fair.
My big news topic this week is Google Stadia to shut down to the surprise to no one, but we do get some good and / bad news with it as well. Of course, it's shutting down. No one cares about Google Stadia, and probably no one's using it. It's unfortunate for the developers that got bought, were making games for Stadia, and now are like, oh, what do we do now? At least those games will probably go multi-platform, most likely. But some of the good news is that, one, Google Stadia is offering refunds, which is pretty cool. And then
Yeah.
two, places like, or companies like Ubisoft is allowing you to transfer your save and transfer your purchase over to their own, like Ubisoft has their own kind of gaming launcher for PC. So on that end, pretty good on them. Kind of surprised Ubisoft did a cool move for once in their life, it feels like. But I know none of us play Stadia, but you know, what do
No.
you guys think about this thing?
It's interesting because I just thought about this. There is a specific game, and unfortunately I cannot go into details on it, the whole NDA things, but it's a game that I have taken part in that is in production for on 3 separate occasions now, and I actually have another one that I'm supposed to do this coming Tuesday that is using Stadia, and that's the only time I've used it. So now I'm curious to see, one, if the one on Tuesday still goes through, and if it does, like what the future of this game is. It's even hard to explain, like a massive online community type game. But it was using the Google Stadia brain, basically, right, to stream everything. So yeah, I don't know. Like, there's been other developers, right, that have said that this was news to them, that Stadia was shutting down, and their futures are up in the air as well. So yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that the buy-in on Stadia was that high to begin with.
Yeah.
But I think we all said this when Stadia was first announced, that it wasn't going to last, right?
Yeah. And if you're working for a developer for there, you got to think there's got to be some guy, let's say his name's Carl, who was looking on LinkedIn and just keeping in the back burner possibly open jobs for when this thing was going to go south. There's probably multiple versions of that guy. Like
Yep.
it's been sinking for so long that if it was the Titanic, you would have already been in a lifeboat before the glacier hit. Or before it hit the glacier, so to speak.
Right.
But, at least Google is, doing good things like offering refunds and things like that and such. And I hope everybody lands who was working, on projects or working for developers that specifically or solely was making games for Stadium. I hope everybody lands correctly, because that it does suck, but like even we could see that this was going to happen,
Yep.
So.
Yep. I remember specifically other podcasts when Stadia was announced being like, is this going to end up like everything Google does, where they abandon it in a year because they don't see the returns, and everybody being like, oh, 100%. And here we are. Has it been a year? Over a year? I don't know,
think
a
it's
couple
been
years.
It's at least been a year or 2 years, I think.
Right. And here they are abandoning it, because they didn't see the return that they wanted. So
yeah, it reminded me when I used to watch Making the Band. with like, isn't that the one with P Diddy where he
Yep.
basically just like gave up on everybody after a year? There was
He
like
did.
That
that was
reference soared over my head. I got no idea what you're talking about.
You mean you don't know Danity Kane?
yeah, or Day 26.
Yeah. Come on, Barry.
I guess we're showing our age here, Craig. I don't
Yeah,
know.
we are. Apparently,
That
we
was
are.
that was an early 2000s show, mid
It
2000s
was.
show. I'm pretty
It
sure.
was.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I have no idea. I have what was it on MTV?
I think so. Or is it
Yeah,
VH1 maybe?
It was one or the other.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like it's getting off topic, but like the shows I remember from like my early MTV VH1 days. What was it like? Like the Dating New York show or like New York,
I
New
Love New
York.
I
York.
love New York.
I love
Yep.
New York. That was
That's a
it.
classic.
Yep,
Yeah,
the
dude.
Flavor
Those.
Flav one.
Yes.
Rock of Love.
Rock of
Okay,
Love.
yeah, I do
Yep.
know those ones as well. But those other shows, they must have been too early because I don't know. You might have well been speaking a foreign language.
I'm sorry, that was a good couple of years of trashy television, though.
It was.
Oh,
Just
absolutely.
It was good.
Yep.
And I miss it. I kind of miss it, actually, now that we're talking
I Love New York
about it.
was great.
I Love New York was great.
The fact that I still remember characters like Chamillionaire and
Yeah.
Boston.
And Chance.
Boston.
Do you remember
Chance?
Yep.
Chance, yeah.
He always had his hat like
Yep.
perfectly like on the side of his head and it never moved. I think
It was
that
CGI.
Chance.
It was CGI.
Yeah.
Had to have been.
How can we remember these people and I can't remember what I did 2 weeks ago? Like this is
Selective
leave an
memory.
impression. Yeah.
Boston though, my favorite white boy, man. He was
Boston was
Yes.
great.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I love that we got to Boston from Google Stadia. That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
What
That's
a
quite the
connection.
crossover.
What a connection.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna hit you with my news article, and it's not gonna be what you expect. I'm switching it up here.
Okay.
I wanted to talk about Slime Rancher 2 real quick.
Okay.
Dropped on Game Pass last week.
Yeah, as a
week and a half
preview. The
ago.
full game's not out yet, yeah.
Right. Anyway, it sold over 300,000 copies in less than a week.
Oh, good for
And again, this is a strong case that, I saw numerous articles saying, this is the case to show that just because your game is coming out on Game Pass does not mean that you're not going to sell anything. Slime Rancher 1 was a well-loved game. My daughter absolutely loves Slime Rancher and has been looking forward to the second one for a while. I think it's a great, relaxing game. And, it made me happy to see that it sold so many copies. It definitely deserves it, even though it's not technically out yet. It's in game preview.
That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't know it was doing that well. I knew it came out, but those numbers are good.
Yeah.
Hopefully they just continue to rise. I know it's a
Yes.
very particular game, but
Mhm.
still, Slime Rancher, if people willing to try, that's the thing about Game Passes. You have it and
Yep.
you're willing to try it because it doesn't cost you anything. I just hope that whatever the end deal is for that developer, they still end up making out in a good spot. So that's all I can hope for.
Yeah, they should too.
That's really good on them.
Mhm.
Really. So I have it's not like a segment, but it's more like a collective. So Dahmer, the show Dahmer featuring Evan Peters came out in the last 2 weeks. And ever since it came out, it's received an insane amount of praise and an insane amount of scrutiny
I was about to,
at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to I'm going to kind of condense all of the terribleness because like it's just insane. So as you guys know, Jeffrey Dahmer, crazy serial killer from like the 70s and 80s, long reign of terror, like all types of crazy stuff, cannibalism and all, like just a really bad person, but also a really sick person on the inside. This is like the 80 millionth adaptation of some part of his life. 80 millionth, like whether it's book, television show, documentary, television show, movie, whatever. And the first part of the scrutiny that it's received that's really kind of grinding my gears really is
so it's a grind my gears segment.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Just call me Peter Griffin because it's grinding my gears. all of these people are coming out after watching this series, and it's created by Ryan Murphy. So he's bringing the American Horror Story fans over. He's bringing the Nip Tuck fans over. He's bringing the Glee fans over. It's Ryan Murphy. If you like any of those things, you're going to check out what he does. People are upset and calling out to major musical artists because they've seen this depiction of the terrible real things that Dahmer has done. And now they're calling out Katy Perry. They're calling out Kesha.
Yep.
And they're calling out Eminem, which for Eminem, that's just a daily thing. And they're asking them to either change or remove their songs that had a Jeffrey Dahmer reference in it. And I'm talking about like Katy Perry's song
It's
Dark
old.
Horse.
Yep.
It's Dark Horse, which I don't know if you remember. I had to look it up. That came out in 2013. And
Yep.
Katy Perry didn't even say anything. It was Juicy J who was actually on the track as the rapper, because that's how I think of Juicy J, as a rapper in
In
quotations.
Yep.
With the name Juicy J, he can't be anything other than. If you told me he was a country artist, I would have been
Exactly.
shocked.
It's
Yeah.
it's up in the air. And they're calling that song out. They're calling out Kesha's song Cannibal,
Yep.
which we all know when Kesha's early career was. That was back like 15 years ago, it seems. And they're calling out like 3 different Eminem songs because everybody said something like, "Oh, I'll eat your brains like Dahmer," or "I'll eat your heart out like Dahmer," or "Just call me Jeffrey Dahmer," whatever. And so this is why I'm upset. I'm upset because this is going to be the Dahmer adaptation that makes you realize that Dahmer is that terrible, number one. Number
Yep.
two, why are we calling out 10-year-old songs? If we really want to get on this train, that's a long train. And we could call out we can call out a lot of different musical artists for what they have had in their content. It just made me sick to the stomach to read it because I feel like I feel like he has enough notoriety where you should know who this man has been.
Yep.
And why does it take one man's artistic depiction, and just because you probably watched Glee or you probably watched AHS, that this is the first time you're seeing that this man exists, and now you're angry in 2022. So that's the first thing. The second thing is regarding there was a production assistant who worked on the Dahmer series. Her name is Kim Alsup. She is talking about how it's the worst show that she's ever worked on due to some of the conditions that she had while on the show. Now, the Dahmer show is about, and I need to correct myself from last week, the majority of Jeffrey Dahmer's victims were people of color.
Yep.
So this particular person's on the production crew. She wasn't one of the many African American or people of color actors that worked as actors on the show. She was one of 2 people on the production crew. And she was claiming, well, not claiming, she was saying that they were calling her the other person's name and mistaking her for the other person of color working on the production crew. Not to mention the conditions and so on and so forth. That was like the main thing that stood out to me that she called out. And obviously, there's a lot to unpack with that. We don't have to unpack many of that or all of that, but that's just kind of like a little bit disgusting to me. The other thing, and the third thing, which is also disgusting, is referring to Netflix not even really consulting the victims that are still alive and the victim families. So there was one victim that came forward that said that they watched part of the show and it made them sick to their stomach, which I would guess that a show like that, or any show that depicts Jeffrey Dahmer's exploits, negative exploits, would make you sick if you were a survivor. But it's just this combination of things that's making this show very intriguing to me, because it's really just 2 to 3 weeks old at this point. And this is like the stuff that came out about it. I don't know what you guys think of any of that, but I had to just bring that to light because that's a lot for a very, very new show,
Yep.
you know?
The music stuff to me, like, I feel like anytime anything major comes out pop culture wise, people will just go digging to find something to bring up. You know what I mean? And like the music thing, to me is ridiculous. People have been talking about discussing Dahmer forever.
Mm,
What I take more of an issue with, and I haven't watched the show yet. I don't really have a desire to, because I think at this point I've probably watched like 6 documentaries on Dahmer,
I'm
um,
saying.
a couple movies, and besides that, I don't know if this is a controversial opinion or not, but I consider Ryan Murphy to put out pretty much just straight trash, with a lot of the stuff he does. I like Nip Tuck, but it was trash, right?
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
was what he does is just that's his style to me. I know a lot of people like Glee. I was not a huge fan of Glee. Nip
I
Tuck at
didn't
the
do.
time I enjoyed, but again, it was not much there.
Yeah.
American Horror Story, I like the first season, but again,
Yes.
it's a lot of, in my opinion, it's just mine. It's just a lot of trash. So like when I saw he was doing this, I was like, I don't really have a desire. To me, it almost seems like he was kind of like holding up Dahmer, right? Like kind of
Mm-hmm.
fantasizing about Dahmer a little bit, which is gross.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
Yeah.
more so for me, it was just like, man, we've had a bazillion things about Dahmer already. Do we really need another one
Yeah.
again? And I even saw on Netflix today, there's a documentary coming out next week on Dahmer. Like, what? I know he's like one of the most, prolific serial killers, one of the most well known. But yeah, I'm so over Jeffrey Dahmer at this point. I don't need any more. And nothing about this show made me want to watch it. Just
Yeah.
looked like something that didn't need to be made, honestly.
Yeah, my opinion really I don't think can change much only because and this is going to go with my upbringing. I recognize the name Jeffrey Dahmer as a serial killer, but I know nothing about what he did or what happened or anything like that. Like
Yeah.
that might just be because I don't remember it. Like I don't ever think I was taught this stuff in high school or anything like that.
What class
Prop
would they teach you that in?
I don't know
Yeah, right.
history. You think like history?
History.
No,
You
that's not in
you
history. Absolutely not.
Well, you talk about like bad people in history.
Right. Right.
I remember in my classes, you would talk about Hitler, who is
Hmm.
universally a pretty bad guy. Slave owners, who
Yep.
back in that day was also pretty bad. You think why I guess maybe we aren't talking about serial killers to hope and not spur a copycat or something like that. I
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know much about him or what he did. I didn't plan on watching the series either. If I don't know whether or not the production crew thing is like, did they actually look alike or were they being facetious in a way, like doing that? Like that's kind of stuff that like I
Yeah.
would need answers for.
Yeah.
Is
Uh,
is
uh,
it some inside joke that is it almost like bullying in a way?
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like doing that thing, but who knows?
yeah. Apparently, they were both dark skinned. One was, I think she, like the actual production assistant who came forward was 5'5". The other girl was 5'10", but they both had braids on. It's a sensitive issue
Yep.
because that is something that has been in the community, in the Black African American community for a long time. Does this person look like this person? They all look the same, that whole thing. So that's what sparks the debate. And reading it as a person of color, I don't know if I'm null or numb to certain ones. Like I get outraged still, but like for this one, it just felt like another story where this happens. It's like
Okay.
somebody else came forward again. Um, but like again, like the reason is to see like all of this coming together for this one show. And like Craig, before I forget, I'm gonna say it because I tried to give Ryan Murphy like a lot
Hmm.
of slack. He does put out a lot of trash. I know this now.
Yeah.
No, because like after the first season of American Horror Story, he was like a football. He was like your classic football team. They could have 8 terrible seasons and you'll still be a fan. And you're like, well, maybe next year, maybe next year. That was
Yeah.
me throughout the entire American Horror Story, like to this date seasons.
Hmm.
And Nip Tuck was only good, really good through the Carver, which you probably
Yep.
remember.
Yep.
After that, it was trash. It was complete and utter trash. But
Hmm.
the characters were played well by their actors and actresses, so you stayed with it. But like he
Yep.
does, and like Glee, I haven't seen Glee, but it seems like that's his best technical work. from what people are saying and the reviews and everything like that. So I had to get that out there. He does put out a lot. He is a weird guy that I'm finding as he's putting out more stuff as a production, as a producer. So I don't know. I feel like this is not going to go away. We may see something that we can report on next week about how crazy this show is. But the fact of the matter is like going back to it all just as kind of like a sum up. We don't need more Dahmer. Number one. Number 2, 3, and 4 is we don't need more Dahmer. We know he exists.
Yep.
We know that he had like Barry, you may not have like learned about him much. The guy did have a very interesting and decrepit and dark beginning portion of his life, and the part of his life where he actually started killing people. That's the crazy thing. It's like you can do a whole series on his childhood because he had like one of the worst ones that I can think of serial killers. But like, we don't need more. If we're going to do that, if we're going to keep doing movies about that kind of stuff, we can do stuff. There's plenty of them.
Mm-hmm.
There is plenty of them. You could just go through specifically the American like 70s, 80s, and 90s. You'll find plenty. So I don't know. I know this is a long rant. There's a lot of different ideas going with this particular thing, but just the show Dahmer is just crazy right now in terms of drama. But that's it. That's all the news I have.
Barry, the easiest way I could say it though is that America in general just has an obsession with serial killers. That's why this stuff just continues to get made.
Because the murder mystery stuff, right, is still all the rage. And now, and I might be missing something here, so it might just be ignorant. Are you guys talking about Glee, the TV show, the one where like they're singing and stuff?
Yep.
Okay, just making sure, because everything you guys have told me that he does, that Glee is like completely out of left field.
Oh, he does completely different things. Yeah, like Nip Tuck, I think was his first thing. Then he did Glee, which was completely different.
He did a show about was it Versace?
Yes,
or something. One of the designers, but I mean, even Glee, like the show is completely different. Yes, but like the backstory on that show and how awful everybody in that show was is still there. Just like every other Ryan Murphy show, right?
Yeah.
You had people killing themselves, overdosing, pedophiles, all of that is in the Glee show. So yeah, I just don't think he has a very good track record to me.
No.
Interesting. Let's go on to games then. A much happier topic, at least on our end.
Yes.
Games for me this week is I did get Dio Field Chronicle in time and I played it, so I have a bit of that. And then Valkyrie Elysium, I got that on time as well. So I actually have 2 games to talk about this week. So what about you guys?
I took to heart our conversation we had 2 weeks ago about never finishing games.
Oh boy.
And I do want to say that I'm not going to talk about them, but I did make a point to completely finish The Last of Us and the DLC. Nice. And then I did finish Metal Hellsinger as well, because I was like determined last week to like finish some games. So that's what I did. But the new games that I played, obviously the Call of Duty beta, FIFA.
Yeah, that's right. I have FIFA as well.
FIFA Session came out. I have a bunch of thoughts on that. And then I played a whole bunch of Trombone Hero.
Yeah, Trombone Champ. That's me too.
Yeah, Trombone Champ.
Trombone Champ is me too.
Right.
I love that.
That game I feel like has a dark side too, right?
Yeah.
It really does.
We'll talk about it here in a minute, Craig.
I had a very Square Enix week.
Nice.
I did the Star Ocean Divine Force demo.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. And then I did Valkyrie Elysium as well. So Barry, we could just tag team that.
Wait, Craig, wait. I wasn't here last week, but I'm going to ask you this. Did you beat Soul Hackers?
I am.
Oh, no, he's not. He's not done.
You didn't beat it. You still didn't beat it.
I know. And I literally need just like 45 minutes, depending on how long the final cutscene is. I just have to load the game and play the final boss.
Okay.
And I promise I will have it done by next week.
All right.
I will.
I was just curious. That's all. Continue.
The ending is paramount, because if you tell me the ending's bad, it might not be a top 5 game anymore.
It's not a top 5 game. It's taken him this long to beat it. It's definitely not a top 5 game. It's not
games take a while to beat. You know, it is a JRPG.
Not if they don't hold your interest. He's been at the end for a month now.
I have been at the end for a month after spending after getting too close to the end in like a week and a half. Then I
Yep.
just like
Or
tanked.
it's here's another way. It's the game is so good that he's afraid to beat it because if he beats
No.
it, that means it's
No.
over.
Nope. That's not it at all.
Craig, you're just supposed to play along, man. Come on, just play
Yes,
along.
Anyways,
I'm so scared to beat the game.
I'm gonna bring it up every week. That's my point. Just like Scorn.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
I'll have it done. Yeah,
Alright.
go ahead, Barry.
Let's hear it.
bunch of games to talk about this week.
Yep.
I'll do Geofield Chronicle because it's the oldest game out of all of them that I didn't get to talk
Okay.
about. Geofield Chronicle is a really mixed bag for me just because it is turn-based, which I do like. The art style is great. I just find the story incredibly predictable and boring right now.
Okay.
Maybe it gets better along the way, but it is a medieval setting, which you have a lot, like you can do a lot with it. But my problem with
Mhm.
the medieval setting is that if you don't create a good storyline around it, it can be an incredibly boring time. I
Yeah.
think I do especially like the combat because it's kind of like this weird sort of RTS sort of feel, but it's live action. So it's not like I'm commanding like a set of 60 troops and I it's kind of like actually Age of Empires. Yeah, I never mind. It's more like Age of Empires to where
All right.
I tell the character to move where he goes and he moves there and it takes time for him to get there. It's not like he moves 6 spaces a turn.
Okay.
So there's
Okay.
kind of like this ebb and flow to the battle that I kind of find refreshing considering it's supposed to be kind of like a turn-based battle, but it's not. The controls are actually pretty complicated. I'm not the biggest fan of the control scheme. I find myself constantly trying to go to one character, it goes to the first character or another character. So it's like, because here's the thing, and this is just a small example of what's happening. When I want to go to use an ability, let's say I have a mage, an archer, and a knight character. If it's my knight's character's turn, and I go to use an ability, it'll go to the mage or the archer. Why I don't know, but it's just one of those things where I need to then go over to the knight's ability like tab and then use his ability. Like it's just that kind of stuff where it gets bogged down. It doesn't feel like it's streamlined to make it like easier, fast paced, which is what, the reason it's not turn based, you'd think it's because they want it to be fast paced and moving. But the fact that I
Mhm.
get stuck in a menu and it's a menu that I want to be in there longer than what I want to be in there for just makes things a little bit more bogged down for my liking. Geofield Chronicle, I kind of feel like it's another one of these games, and it's weird. Nintendo games usually have some sort of art on their like little cartridges. In Bravely Default 2, Triangle Strategy, and now this game, it's just a black cartridge with white lettering over
Oh.
it. And it's weird how all of these games, like those 3 games, are quite similar in how they play. And it's one of these games where I think, let me just see here. Geofield Chronicles Square Enix. Bravely Default 2 is Square
Square.
Enix.
Yep.
Mhm.
Triangle
And
is too,
Triangle
isn't it?
Strategy
Triangle is too.
Yep.
is it
Yeah.
Square Enix? I just have to double check. I think it is too.
Square
I
Yeah.
think
Enix.
so.
So yeah,
Square Enix is
it,
dropping like 90% of the RPGs nowadays.
It
yeah,
Hey,
is.
side note.
it's weird
Sorry.
how all those games are all like combined or like different, but they're all kind of the same in a different way, and each one kind of has this thing that's good and bad about them. Uh, if I had to pick the worst between these 3, it's the Geofield Chronicle. I do really love the art style, but the art style's not gonna. It isn't what makes you play a video game. You can
No.
enjoy it for a little bit, but then eventually you're like, it's the art style. Like the story isn't that good, and also like the combat system's frustrating me. The fights are fast, so I do like that it's quick and easy to do a fight, come back to if you want to, and you're not really missing anything. But it's the other stuff that bogs the game down for me more than I'd like.
Okay.
That's fair. Barry, let's do FIFA.
Yeah,
FIFA.
FIFA it up. Kick it off, guys. Kick it off with FIFA. Kick it off.
So I just want to say that I had like zero interest in FIFA again until the Ted Lasso trailer came out, and I was like, well, putting Ted Lasso is a no-brainer, but also a wonderful idea, right? But the game itself, like, did they change anything?
It doesn't feel like they did. Like,
No, it
it's
doesn't.
it's the same thing. See, and it's the same thing with Madden.
Yep.
They're showing like field sense to this.
Yep.
FIFA's version of that is Hypermotion 2.0. So I don't know.
Which you
I
skip
don't.
after the first
Yeah,
time you see it.
yeah. I don't see like any difference at all. But that's this thing about sports games is that you're playing
Yep.
it for the the updated roster. I'm not
Yeah.
the biggest fan. Like, I really do think that they should trim down like some of the stuff. I don't know how many people are playing Volta, to be honest. Like the
Nobody.
3v3 Brazilian game.
Yep.
Yes, Ultimate Team's still there. The seasons, the career mode, it's all there. But I just feel like there's so much, and I don't know. Like, for me, the game doesn't feel new enough to make me warrant actually buying it.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not gonna buy FIFA 2023. I'll just play if I do somehow manage, and this is a stretch. If I somehow manage to play 10 hours of this game, put me out of my
Yep.
misery.
Yep.
Or something like that. Like, take the Xbox away, uninstall the game and throw my Xbox in a washing machine or something. Because, like,
Yep.
I shouldn't be playing this game because it's literally the same as FIFA 22.
Yep.
I
Dude, these 10-hour trials are a godsend, though.
Yeah, no
Right?
kidding.
On all the EA
Saving me
Sports games.
$60. Yeah, saving
Yeah.
me 60,
And like,
$70. That's nice.
yep. And the NHL, when that comes out in like 2 weeks, right? There'll be a 10-hour
NHL
trial of that.
NHL has a chance to be something different, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like we're running into like sports games felt fresh when they got
Mhm.
to the new gen consoles, and now that they're on the second iteration of these next gen console versions, it just feels like, okay, this is nothing. Like, I don't
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Look,
I don't know.
I don't care about Madden this year. I don't care about FIFA this year. I'll do the 10-hour trial for NHL, but I expect literally nothing from it. I mean, again, all my hope is pinned on college football next year. That's it. Like, that's the only sports game that I'm like actively looking forward to. Yes, I'm still playing 2K NBA, but like I wasn't like looking forward and counting down the days to NBA 2K23. I was just
I
like,
do
oh,
have
that comes out next week. Let me buy it.
I do have PGA Tour. That one should be
Yes.
on
Oh
trial as
yeah, yeah.
well.
Yep.
That one I
I
am
forgot.
excited for because they got what they needed this year. So
Yeah,
I am
Tiger.
excited for they got
I have
licensing. They got
Yeah.
I have a
that's what they
question.
needed.
Sure.
I have a question for you two gentlemen
Mhm.
because I really enjoy this point that's being made. So, if you're presenting something to like let's say EA Sports,
Mhm.
what time frame would you present to them? Like let's say you're saying that like a Madden should be released. How many years
Too.
should they wait to
Yeah, it's
reduce an
2. It's
so
what
you're
Call of
saying
Duty's doing.
so you're saying 2 but like maybe have like a natural updated roster
Yeah.
that
Update the
happens in the year
roster.
and
You
then
20
every
can
bucks.
2 years.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can charge for the
Okay.
updated roster.
Yeah,
I
20
have
bucks.
no issue with that. 20, $30. I'm perfectly
Mhm.
fine with them doing that.
Yep.
But
Okay.
it's the same thing that happened to all the Assassin's Creed games as well. You eventually put so much strain on a development team that they not only need to keep like, and this is what's going to happen with Madden 23 as well. They release Madden 23. You now have to consistently update the game until the Super Bowl ends, till February.
Yep.
And then you
Yeah.
have another couple months where the game usually comes out in August. So that's another 6 months to somehow develop the game and make it different. The turntable for these sports games is ridiculous, and I don't want to necessarily. I don't think the developers are really at fault, other than like their grimy Ultimate Team stuff like that. I can't stand
Yep.
for, but the how can you expect a development team to come up with something substantially different from one game to the next when you don't have your full team of developers working on the game until 6 months after it comes out, and there's 6 months until the new game comes out. So I don't necessarily blame these guys, to be completely honest. And
Yep.
to be fair, I played a decent amount of sorry, not FIFA, Madden this weekend. Madden still feels and plays great. It's just the same Madden game, and I'm that loser that pays $70 for a roster update, regardless of what it's worth. So
Nerd.
yeah,
I mean, I do it with 2K every year. It's just,
yeah,
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 I the answer is definitely every 2 years, do the Call of Duty schedule of releasing games, charge 20 or $30 in July for the new updated rosters, and you're good. People are gonna pay it, you know. You might have some people who are confused the first 2 years until they figure it out. But I mean, people will figure it out fairly quickly, and everybody benefits, right? You have a year and a half at that point to substantially change the game and make improvements, and you still get your money from the roster update and ultimate team. So I don't know, it seems like the logical thing, but it's never going to happen
yeah.
ever.
And and one thing about it too, and I'm not sure, because the markup on games isn't necessarily great. That
Right.
most games are pretty much almost made to cost, just with a couple extra dollars. That is actually profit. If you think about it, making a $30 roster update, that's pretty much pure profit. You don't have to spend time on
Yeah.
production
Yep.
of the disc, paying athletes to be on your cover of this thing, like paying and printing out codes and stuff like that. Like you could skip all those steps
Yeah.
and just to make a roster update that goes, okay, $30, here's the roster update, and people will pay it. That's pure profitability. Like
Yeah.
you don't
That's a good
have to
point.
and you don't have to depend on those $7 of profit. And again, it's not going to happen this way because it's just not how games work. People are going to see, they're going to see the disc of Madden 24 and go, I need that, not Madden 23, even if there is a roster update between the two to
Yep.
get you over there. But
It,
the public's dumb, and so am I. I'm the public, so I'm there with them.
let's why don't we switch to Happy though, because I've been so excited to talk to you guys about Trombone Champ though.
Yeah,
I
let's
will
do.
absolutely talk about Trombone Champ.
Yes, I want to hear this. I
So,
want to hear
did
this.
you, like me, Barry, just kind of I stumbled across a news article talking about it. Is that
We
where you
we
heard
talked
about it?
about it we talked about it
Okay.
last week. It's viral on Twitter.
Mhm.
That game is just it hit
Yeah.
the right time, it feels like.
Yep. And I think part of it too is I saw an article. I want to say it was like Kotaku or somebody made an article about it. And at first when I looked at it, I was like, okay, it's a rhythm game. I like rhythm games. But I was like, there's no, like, it's all free use music, right?
Yeah, exactly,
It's like,
yeah.
and I was like, I don't know, that seems kind of dumb. Do I really want to play the Star Spangled Banner, or you know what I mean, or
Oh,
Beethoven?
Canada.
Yeah, or Oh
Who doesn't?
Canada,
Who
right? But I
doesn't?
think I was like, you know what though, everybody's talking about it, and it's what, like $20 or $15 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot, and like, it's surprisingly fun, right? Like, it's simple. You're just moving the mouse up and down and hitting the button. Um, but I don't know, just something about that simple gameplay works for me. And then collecting the cards is cool. And then you start finding more things as you're playing that you can do, which is hilarious to me. There's like the demon that you can
Yeah.
summon. That's hilarious. There's the baboons. I haven't done everything yet. Have you, Barry?
No, I think I'm missing just 4 cards
Okay.
in the tromboner set.
Yeah.
Um it's
Sorry,
It's so
No,
good.
sorry. I'm 6 years
that's
old.
what this
Sorry.
game is. That
Yep.
that it's weird how this game takes itself so non-seriously, cuz
Mhm.
as rhythm game fans, we're used to, if we're failing, it's just going to kick us out, or
Yep.
it makes it so that way it sounds bad, like even if you're in no fail mode on Rock Band, you
Mhm.
know, the crowd starts booing you, and it stops sound altogether. In this game, if you're failing, it's just hilarious
Yep.
because you're just tromboning in the wrong tune. um
So funny.
it's I do the only thing I can say is I do wish the playlist was a bit bigger.
Hmm.
But it does seem like they're updating the game to put more songs out for it.
Yep.
uh I don't know, playing "Oh Canada," "Star Spangled Banner," Beethoven's Fifth,
Yep.
um it's all kind of weird fun. I didn't think I would enjoy the game as much as I do, but there's something just so like mind, and I shouldn't say mind numbing. It's kind of just like endless fun. with it. Despite the fact that there isn't a lot of songs, you can trombone completely out of tune and
Yeah.
it's just going to be funny. Um
Yeah.
and the
Every
songs
time.
are and like the serious songs are all there, but then I don't know what the creator has an obsession with baboons for, because there are baboon cards. um there's there's one song called Baboons and it's Baboon Step. It is all very there's a trap mix of one of the songs as well. It's
Yep.
literally, I forget if I think it's like a Beethoven song. It's like Beethoven song trap mix.
Yep.
So it's just how weirdly that this game doesn't take itself seriously, and I think for that it plays out to it as well.
Yeah.
I've played about I'm even surprised that I've spent $20 and I've played an hour and a half of it. Like, it is. I feel like for those $20 I've gotten my money's worth, without question. Like, it is just that weird and fun of a game, and how it slowly dulls things out to you is actually kind of interesting as
Yep.
well. First you're
Doesn't
just
tell you.
collecting yeah, first you're just collecting baboon cards, and classical cards, and then you're trying to complete the set. And then you go into like this baboon sanctuary and you're
Yeah.
trying to figure out these puzzle things that you have no idea what you're doing with. And
Yep.
then there's a candle that I was just clicking it because it was doing something, and then a little devil comes out. Like,
Yep.
there's so in a very simple rhythm game, there is a surprisingly good amount of discoverability and
Mhm.
not knowing what the heck is going on. So,
Yeah, I like the first thing I did is I went through and I played every single song, right? I was
yep,
like, I play every
exactly.
single song. And then I was looking, I was like, oh, I have most of the cards, but not all of them. But when you get duplicates, you can sell one of your duplicates to make I forget what they call it. It's like poo something.
Yeah, yeah,
And
it's
then you
literally, yeah.
can
Sweet.
use that to build the cards that you don't have, right? So I did that and I was like, okay, so I have every single card. I have every card. And then I same as you, I clicked the candle and I was like, oh, there's something here. And then the demon is like, oh, if you give me these 3 cards, I'll give you something. So I've done that once and it gave me like a different colored trombone, right? And
Yeah.
then I went into the baboon sanctuary and I was like, oh, what's this? And it has like the 4 like check marks. And I was like, okay, I figured out that that's like if you get an S ranking on 4 songs, you can unlock that. So I was like, okay, so I got those. And then after that, like that like piece goes away and it's just an empty thing that I'm clicking on and nothing's happening. And like I also don't want to look anything up to figure out how to do
Yeah.
it. Like it's one of those
Yeah.
games where I'm like, I just want to figure it out on my own. So like that's all I've done so far. But there's enough there to be like, yeah, I've played every song, but now I have to figure out like what is this baboon sanctuary thing and what do I do next? And I want to figure it out naturally. And maybe I'll have to look it up eventually, but there's just like something there that's like, okay, something's weird about this game too. And I don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good game for $15 or $20.
Yeah.
Sounds
Agreed.
yeah, it sounds fantastic.
Mm-hmm. What else we got?
Do we want to talk about it? Craig, Valkyrie
Yeah, do it.
Elysium?
Do it.
Yeah, how do you want to do it? Like
Is it another game that you're not going to finish?
So,
That's a
I
good
okay.
place to start.
okay, this is a good start. I do think I'm going to finish
Yeah.
this game.
Okay.
It's another Square Enix anime game. I will say it's not perfect though. One
No.
thing that I am absolutely in love with though is the combat system.
Yes.
I am having so much freaking
Yes.
fun. This
1,000 times
the
yes.
the combat system, and Craig, like, I know I've made this comparison with other games before. This is, for me, this is Scarlet Nexus combat system.
Okay.
Like,
Mhm.
it's every time I'm pressing something, my brain is just firing. All the synapses that are like, yeah, let's keep going. It's just
Okay.
the combat system is very fast. And I think it's a lot of fun. The gripes I have with the game, there is no personality to this main character, or at least not yet.
Nothing. Nothing.
I have not run into, I've beaten now the main boss and I've beaten the first main boss that's out of the tutorial, and I'm a little bit into the second area, but the bot, like, she has no
none.
qualities that make her stand out. Like, she is just a tried and true Valkyrie. That's all we really know. And I don't know. I haven't finished the game, so I'll try to call my shot now. You probably end up fighting Odin anyway.
You
Cuz
probably do.
Odin has like this sort of charisma about him that makes me feel like, okay, he's going to turn evil and then I got to kill him kind of
Yeah.
thing. And then
He looks
Ragnarok
like a
happens
final
anyway.
boss. He looks
Yeah.
like a final boss. Like
Okay.
he's designed like one. He looks like when you were playing Final Fantasy X and you saw Seymour for the first time, you were
Yep.
like, "Oh, I'm gonna fight him. He's definitely the guy."
Yeah.
Um, I have I'm in complete and total agreement with you there, Barry. I am on chapter 7, so I'm farther into the game.
For sure.
This main character's got nothing, bro, and all of the other side characters that get introduced, because essentially Valkyrie created by Ode, and we talked about it last week, but just to reiterate, Valkyrie is the last line of defense during Ragnarok. You're there to purify souls, and Craig, what we talked about last week is that the whole level setup is built kind of like Neo, where you go into a section portion of a map, you complete it, it says chapter done, and you
Okay.
go back to like your main area, and then you choose the next thing you're going to do. So that I liked when I mentioned it last week. I still don't have a problem with it. It's
Yeah.
just that side quests, you also have to do the same thing. You pick up a side quest in a main mission, and then you have to wait till you finish the mission to select the side quest to do it. That's a little stupid, whatever, but no personality in this main character. No person. Well, the other characters you pick up as summons have personalities, but I don't care about anybody. What I do care about is the combat, and it is freaking tastic. And I'll tell you, Barry, when you get to chapter 7, it's still going to be freaking fantastic. Fantastic. They keep adding elements that make it a high octane battle system, so to speak. And I thank them because they know, I think somebody there knows that they don't really have a story. So they put you into so much combat that you tend to forget that the rest of the game basically, at least in my eyes, sucks when I'm not fighting something. That is why I will continue to play until that combat gets stale, but I don't think it will, which is the crazy thing. Um the cutscenes are not that good either. The mouth does not match up to what is saying. It looks like a very bad English dub, but like not even like you could tell there it's a Japanese, you could tell it's mouthed Japanese words with an English dub, and that's just like what's happening. It looks like a full second behind. Like the talking looks like a full second behind what is actually being like said or what is being mouthed on the character. I can get over it. I just go up and get coffee or something during cutscenes. I'm literally that guy. That in this game, I am going up to pee or to get coffee, or I'm doing something different during cutscenes so that I could just get back to the combat. And I kind of feel like how Craig is just about general RPGs, where I'm just like, can
Yep.
I just get back to the, I
That's
don't
what I want.
care.
Yep.
So like Square Enix is to me like Blumhouse with RPGs. They just pump them out. Some of them are fantastic and ones you're expecting. The other ones are just filler to get you to one of their higher produced RPGs. What I didn't know, and the last thing I'll say about it, is that I didn't play any other Valkyrie games, but apparently if you did play another Valkyrie game, you are highly offended by this rendition. Everybody who has played like another Valkyrie game, which is a relatively old series, hates everything about this. I haven't, so I like the combat and I'm going to keep enjoying it. But that's my take on it. You know, it's good.
Okay.
Like overall, I do, at least in Scarlet Nexus, while there, and I know Craig will hate it, while there is like, long cutscenes in Scarlet Nexus,
Long.
the at least the characters have some sort of personality to them, and at
And a little
least can,
and depth.
yeah,
Mhm.
and depth of some story. There's at least some sort of story that's you can follow. But in Valkyrie Elysium here, yeah, like for me, like thank God there's a tether that just tethers me to the next enemy, because if I'm not
Yes.
beating up on the next thing, Uh,
Bored.
if I'm not beating up on the next thing, I'm running around in a very slow Naruto run to the
Yes.
next little boss to the next little fight area. And I'm not sure if you feel the same way, but does the difficulty ramp up extremely from the boss of the area to all of the lackeys in the
Yeah.
area as well? Like
Yeah, it does.
the boss hits like a tank. Uh and you actually have to focus on dodging, but all of the other enemies I'm just mindlessly like, yeah, kill it, kill it, kill it, stagger it and kill it again. So it's
Y- No, you're right. Today I was watching football and I was literally looking at my iPad watching a game while mashing fighting normal enemies, but then you actually have to put on your SAT brain when you get to a boss because all of a sudden it's like a complete and utter difference. And one thing to also warn you, Barry, the level design is terrible. Craig, it's terrible, but it doesn't get better, Barry. By the way, it's just all drab. They have incorporated so much brown in this game. It might as well be whatchamacallit, Shin Megami Tensei 5. Like there's so much
oh, there we go.
brown.
Good, I like
There's
it.
so
I
much
like the callback.
there's so much there's so much brown and I'm hating that color now because in video games because it's just I hate it. But anyway, like it's the combat's great.
So if you're looking for a really stupid, mindless game when you don't care about story or anything like that, and just want to mindlessly beat up on some monsters with a very fun combat system, I'll completely admit,
Mhm.
um, Valkyrie Elysium's for you.
Yeah.
that that's such a mediocre endorsement of the
And you know what?
game.
The
And it's
scores are mediocre.
Yeah.
the
That's
score
that like the scores are actually somewhat representative of how I feel about the game.
yeah.
And yet
It's a complete
somehow you're still gonna fight for it when Game of the Year comes up, right?
No,
It's
there's definitely other.
mediocre. It's
Yeah,
mediocre game of the year. It
Okay.
yeah.
is. I
Okay.
think it is just such a 5 out of 10 everywhere
Mm.
except for the combat system, but it's
That it
still
makes
it's
it a 6. That's
yeah,
it.
I
That's
know.
So you're
that.
saying I'll pass? I won't play it.
Don't play it.
Okay, I can do that.
Don't play it.
I wasn't going
Um
to anyway.
I uh I just want to throw out real quick Star Ocean Divine Force.
Yeah.
Yeah, because those games are very similar apparently.
Yes,
But Star
so
Ocean is getting a lot better reviews.
yes, so I'll say this. I've played both demos within a 2-week span. I wish that I had not bought Valkyrie Elysium after playing the demo and that I just saved my money and bought Star Ocean Divine Force after playing the demo. So I didn't play many Star Oceans. I actually have to think and figure out if I actually did play one. But Star Ocean Divine Force allows you to play two protagonists. So speaking of Scarlet Nexus, um, two protagonists. The demo only allows you to play the male protagonist, which is Raymond. Essentially, Raymond is on a ship that gets shot down out of space. He crash lands on this planet that has severely less of a technological advancement than his planet does. And he's trying to find his crew. That's all you need to know about the story. What I will equate the combat to is if, oh my God, what's the game? I had it in my head. Xenoblade Chronicles 3. If Xenoblade Chronicles 3 could be more exciting, it would be the Star Ocean's combat.
Okay.
All right, Star Ocean Divine Force has as large of a map as Xenoblade Chronicles does. However, what it does differently is there's actually like you hit square for light attack, triangle for heavy attack. There's an engaging battle system. Early in the early in the demo, they introduce you to this little like robot pack thing. It's like a really cute robot that gets on your main character's back, and then all of a sudden you have a flying or like a short flying capability for traversing the landscape, but they also introduce it into the combat as well, making the combat better. So while I was playing it, I got excited for this game because it does what I wished Xenoblade Chronicles 3 would do, which is make the combat more engaging and make the level design more traversable,
Yeah.
easily
Sure.
easily
Yeah.
traversed. because those are my gripes and why I never finish a Xenoblade Chronicles game is I'm tired of running around at the same like pace, and I just want to get from point A to point B quickly, and I also want the combat to just be a lot more user engaged. So at least I thought 3 did a better job of it, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is Star Ocean Divine Force. I think it's a game that everybody should get, and people are calling upon it to be the revival of the Star Ocean series because apparently the last couple of games have not been good, from what I've heard,
According to reviews, yes, that is correct.
according to reviews. But I think it deserves the good reviews that it's getting already. It's having a similar problem where in the cutscenes the mouthing is not matching, but it was less
Gotta love these
noticeable.
Japanese games. Gotta love them.
Yep. Yep.
But like it was less noticeable and more of a normal thing for me than what Valkyrie Elysium was doing. But it's good. I only played about an hour because I played that hour and then I looked something up about it, and apparently you can't transfer what you did in the demo to the game when you get it. So I was like, oh, I got
Yuck.
it. I'll stop playing. I got what I
Yep.
needed from this. So an hour made me want to not fully endorse, but highly endorse the game as somebody who just enjoys a nice RPG. It looks like it's going to be pretty good.
I'll probably buy it then.
You will. You know you will.
If you bought Valkyrie Elysium, then you should buy
Yep.
this game.
Yep. Yep. I always find it funny when I look on specifically like when I'm on my PS5 and I look at the store
And then
and
you go, oh, that's a Barry game. That's
no.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
No.
I've done
I'll
that.
look at a game and I'll be like, it'll be like, oh, this is like anime. This looks like a game Barry would buy. And then when I go to the page, your picture's above it as like your friend pre-ordered this game
Oh, god damn it.
every time, and I'm like, this looks like he already pre-ordered it.
He already pre-ordered?
Every time. It happened this past week, and I don't remember what game it was, but I looked at it and I was like, oh, there it is, right in the corner.
There it is.
Your friend has pre-ordered this game. Oh, it's so funny.
I hope it's just Barry like this. I just wish I'm Barry
Oh,
and I
man.
approve this game.
Okay. I did what I mentioned real quick. The Call of Duty beta. I know, Craig, you talked
Yes.
about it. Just real quick on that. I like the direction. I like the slower pace. I think it's a nice change. Guns feel good.
Yeah, they do.
Upgrades on the guns feel good. Maps feel good. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I only played like an hour because, like Star Ocean, like you play it and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna buy it, and then you don't
Yeah.
really need to play anymore. I'm not gonna go all the way up to level 30 or whatever. I think I got to like 15. I was like, yeah, that's enough. I'm good.
Yeah.
I am excited to play some Call of Duty multiplayer again. I know we all are.
Yes.
So I'm extremely excited to play that in a couple weeks. But
Can't wait.
Session finally came out. I feel like I played the early build of this like 8,000 years ago. I think it was like a year ago though. Yet another skateboarding game. So what I can say about this is I was a big fan of Skater XL last year because it does a
Okay.
good job of like, you know, making it more realistic. This game, as far as around the edges, is rough. The campaign, if you want to call it a campaign, is just a series of like riding around the town and finding the people and talking to them, and they're like, hey, go do this trick over here or whatever, and like that's pretty much it. You have your skate shop, you can go and buy stuff. But I will say that the control scheme on this game is the most satisfying I've had in a skateboarding game ever. It's
Better than Skate?
so yes.
Okay.
Okay.
It's tough. Just like when, you know, everybody like Skater XL, when that came out, they're like, oh man, it's tough. But once you figure it out, like it feels good. And that's true. And this session is harder. Now they give you like 3 different options when you start on how you want to play. The medium one is what I started with, which is to turn in this game is the left and right triggers, right? That's how you turn, not the analog sticks. Your left analog stick is your left foot. Your right analog stick is your right foot. So depending on how you want to skate, like if you do skate in real life, then you're going to go with what, you know, either regular or goofy. And then you have A and X is A pushes off with your left foot, X pushes off with your right foot to get speed, right? What feels good about it is in my brain, as somebody who's skated forever, is like, it's super easy for me to realize, like, all right, my left foot should be doing this, my right foot should be doing this to do this specific trick, and it works.
Mm.
um, which is what you want. Now the highest difficulty, which to me it was like insanely hard, but once you figure it out is so good, is you have to catch your flips and in the air with your feet. So like, you know how in like skate, you're like, all right, I'm gonna press down and off to the right, and that's my kick flip, right? And then your guy will do the kick flip. You can start that way in session where I'm like, I'm going to push down and then I'm going to push straight off to the right, and that's a kick flip, and it'll do it. But once you go to the hardest difficulty, you're down and to the right to start the kick flip, but then you got to position your feet to catch the kick flip in the air before you land.
Mm.
Extremely hard, but super, super satisfying. Closest you're going to get to an authentic skateboarding experience in a game. And it's the same thing with grinds, trying to figure out grinds, because they don't tell you. Like, you can look it up to kind of get an idea, but like you have to figure out, like, all right, if I want to do, let's say I want to do like a board slide on a rail, I'm like, all right, well then in my head I'm thinking my left foot is going to have to go forward, my right foot is going to have to go backwards to put the board sideways, and then when I get to the end of the rail, I'm going to have to think and push back the opposite direction to turn it back. That's all there. So it's like super in depth as far as figuring out how to do tricks, which is the same thing as real life, right? You're going to do it a million times until you figure it out. And then once you figure it out, it just becomes super smooth. And you're just like, I find myself more than doing like the missions, just kind of riding around and skating and like, all right, here's a cool spot, I'm going to do this. And then the filming aspect of it, where you can go back and film replays, is so good. They give you all the options of like fisheye lenses, which is a staple in skateboarding videos, and just being able to like follow or have a set spot. It's all great. So I think the game is really good. It's just super rough. If they could polish it up a little bit, I think it could be a game that could rival Skate. But I mean, Skate is EA back, so it's got way more money. But in a world where Skate's coming out to not so great thoughts right now because it's free to play, this could have the potential to carve out its own space in the skateboarding game genre. We just have to kind of wait and see if people actually buy this game, because how many people know this game's out right now?
Yeah.
Not very many, I don't think.
That's a good point.
But yeah, I'm having a ton of fun with it, and I'll keep playing that for sure.
Good. Overall, I did want to ask you before we head to movies.
Yeah.
Like your time with The Last of Us remastered, it's worth it? Like it was worth a revisit?
Yes. But not for $70.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Makes
all
sense.
I can say. Like, I really enjoyed playing through it again, but $70 is just, it's way too high.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
So, movies this week.
Yep.
For me, Blonde.
Yep.
That's it.
I also watched Blonde. Craig, I know you brought up 2 weeks ago. I don't know if you brought it up this past week, but I watched Fall.
Oh, I didn't. I brought it up, but like,
okay.
oh yeah,
you
go
didn't
ahead,
watch
go
it.
ahead.
Okay.
No.
And then I watched Bullet Train.
Okay.
With Brad Pitt.
I've been meaning to watch Bullet Train.
Did you watch Top Gun yet, Perry?
No. I need the disc. I'm not gonna buy the movie digitally to then buy the disc to play it on the.
Okay,
yeah.
That's fair. And what did you watch, Craig?
So this is spooky season for my wife and I, where we watch at least one spooky movie a night. We actually took it a little earlier and started on like the 30th. I watched Gungjam, Haunted Asylum, which is a South Korean film, and then I watched My Best Friend's Exorcism, which is actually a book that I didn't realize somebody actually wanted to make a movie of, a book that I read that's not Stephen King. So I also watched that. It came out on Prime on the 30th. So
okay.
Did you watch Edge Runners?
Oh, I watched. I think I got to the 4th episode.
Okay, cool. I'm just trying to make sure. I need to. I want to talk about it with you guys. So I just wanted to see, how far you're into it. But good, 4 episodes. Good? That's enough.
It's freaking great. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll check it out.
I'll calm down. It's great, bro.
No, please do. Like, Craig, I mentioned on last week podcast, like, how much anime I've watched.
Yeah,
this is a top 10.
Okay,
in my list.
I'll check it out then.
It is really good. One thing I will say, because you got a kid, you ain't watching this with your kid.
No.
Okay.
That is 100% for sure. It's
Is
it's
it?
got it.
Could it be like the perfect background show while I'm working,
Hmm.
No. So
or do I have
as
to
some
pay like holy attention? Is it
as
dubbed or is it in
somebody,
English?
it's
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 du-
it's dubbed.
Okay. Okay.
you can
I,
watch it in
I,
dub. It's a good dub.
Okay.
the reason why I was so quick to talk there is that's where I tried to watch it while
Sure.
working, and I definitely had to pause it at times
Okay.
because there's a lot going on the screen artistically,
Sure.
as well as the dub happening that you have to read. So it was a little bit harder for me. I had to rewind a couple of times because I wanted to really enjoy what I saw. And they throw things at you fast, and then the next scene happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just take that with a grain of salt. If you're okay
Sure.
rewinding it on your watching device, then that's fine. I powered through what I could because it was phenomenal. But anyway,
Okay. I'm a
one more.
sucker for good animation.
It's
So
so.
Oh, this
Oh,
this
then you're
is
gonna
yeah.
this
love
is it.
this.
Yeah.
You'll love
Good.
this
Good. Good.
Oh my
for
god.
sure. So you want to talk about Blonde first?
Yeah. Let's do it.
What a divisive movie. People
Hmm.
hate it. Hate it.
Yep.
Now, I don't hate it. Um there's something, and I know this is all the director. There's something very eerie.
Hmm.
Like, because it's shot the way it's shot, you're kind of waiting for something to happen, and then it does happen, and then it kind of continues. Um I'm going to be completely honest, I don't know a lot about Marilyn Monroe.
Norma Jean.
Um Yeah,
Yep.
I didn't know her real name was Norma Jean. I didn't know that, like, apparently this version of her, like, was for the public, and then there was a different version to, like, Norma Jean when she was in a private life. So there's a lot going on there
Hmm.
that I had never knew. I guess the main thing is, I found the movie's kind of eeriness made me watch it. Like, that's what I found myself continuing to watch it for. This movie's long.
Yeah.
I think longer than it needs to be. It is almost a 3-hour movie. You could
Uh,
probably cut it to a 2-hour film, and
Yeah.
I'd feel a lot better about my time spent with it. Uh Definitely, like, and Craig, you're gonna mention it too. I don't know what made it rated NC-17,
Yep.
but there are some really hard to watch, like, shots that go on way too long.
Hmm.
Um, we talked about it earlier. The JFK scene is really
It's rough.
awkward.
It's rough.
It
Yep.
is, and I know that's what they're going for. They're trying
Yep.
to make me uncomfortable.
And it works.
Yeah, and it did. It made me
Hmm.
uncomfortable. It was just a matter of, like, is there a point to this movie either? Like, I
There
know
is.
it's supposed to be like this psychological retelling of Marilyn Monroe, but, like, we get to the end and I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then I'm waiting for the videos about, like, the final scene or something like that, cuz there's something to that final scene that I won't spoil because, Craig hasn't watched it yet. Um to where there's some sort of hidden meaning that's, like, completely like, "Oh, you're my third eye-opening statement here with the movie," or something like that. Um, Blonde's weird, and I can completely see why it's decisive. Ana de Armas is fantastic.
Yep.
This is Any gripe I have with the movie is not her fault. And she puts herself out there. I can't imagine, to be honest, what it's like to put yourself out there like that in today's world. And, like, Ana de Armas is gorgeous. She is
Mhm.
a gorgeous looking woman, and has the body to match, is what I'll say. It's NC-17. You could draw the lines yourself.
Yep.
Um, and I definitely think, like, she'll probably win an award for this movie. I think she deserves one, especially considering, like, definitely the kind of acting and everything that was put into it. But I don't know. I feel like this director is, like, he's trying to be artsy, and
It's artsy for sure. Yep.
he's trying way too hard. to be artsy. I that's how I feel. And do you know what the director's name is, Craig? I might have to
I,
look that up here.
I don't.
It's probably Ryan Murphy.
It wouldn't surprise me if
He's
it was, but I don't think
trying
it
way
is.
too hard.
Yep.
I know Brad Pitt's a director in this. I
Yeah.
found that out as well,
Yep.
which
Oh.
was kind of interesting.
Mhm.
But the director is Andrew Dominic.
Yeah.
He is the director to this. And if you guys want to have an idea of what his other movies are,
He's done some movies. I'll tell you that.
yeah, let's see
Probably did
here.
he probably
Most of
did
them
like
artsy.
X. He probably did the movie X.
Mindhunter, Killing Them
Yep.
Softly,
Yep. Killing Them Softly is great.
One More Time.
Also decent.
Yeah, so there's a couple movies in here, The Assassin as well. So yeah, I wasn't familiar with this director's art style. He's really trying hard. That is for sure.
This
But
is his Oscar attempt, right?
yeah, I'll stop. Like, do you have anything else to say about it? Like,
I think the most important thing to understand about this movie is it's based on the book Blonde, which is not an accurate retelling of her life. It's dramatized to hell and back. So is this movie. Now there is stuff in there that is true, and there's stuff in there that has not been proven. The JFK scene never proven.
okay,
Other things in there 100%. There's stuff with her first husband, which they don't mention his name in the movie, but it's Joe DiMaggio.
yeah, they told yeah. Oh
Yeah.
no, well, no, isn't they skip over one of them? Joe DiMaggio is a baseball player. He's the baseball
Correct.
player, isn't he?
Yes.
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 There's never been proven that I mean, I don't consider this a spoiler, but it's never been proven that he beat her.
Oh, okay.
Implied, people think so, but it was never proven. So some of this stuff in this movie you have to take with a grain of salt, right? There's a lot of it that is true. Her childhood, that's true. The way she died, that's true. But it's just, to me, like, I find Marilyn Monroe fascinating. I always have, right? Just this fact that it's a completely made up character, that Norma Jean was the studio created for her, and they kind of forced her to play. She had a troubled life. She got heavy into stuff, that ultimately ended her life. But yeah, I think it is very artsy. I'm not usually an artsy movie type of person, but I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was done pretty well. It could have been shorter. You're right. A lot of the scenes are extremely uncomfortable. That's the point of this movie, is to make you extremely uncomfortable. It's a completely, utterly depressing movie to watch.
Yeah, it is
So
for
you
sure.
have to kind of mentally prepare yourself that it's going to mess with your emotions a lot. But again, knowing, again, like, just being kind of fascinated with her and her character, I was all about it. I thought it was great. Anna did a great job. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where it ranks for me in the year. Is it a top 10 movie? Probably not.
Yeah, I don't think
Not,
so for me either.
but I mean, I think it's probably top 20 for me. I liked it. Is it something I'll watch again? No. I don't need to put myself through that again. That's a one and done.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, props to her for really putting herself out there through that movie, because that's a lot. Yeah, I know it's acting, but like, that's a lot to have to go
Can I
through.
ask a question real quick?
Sure.
Just a clarifying question. When we're talking about the JFK moment, are we talking about the Happy Birthday, Mr. President JFK's? Okay.
No.
I was wondering what scene
No.
is in the movie without ruining it for myself.
Correct.
I thought that's the JFK moment you were talking about, but okay.
No. I mean, it's a well-known fact that there was a relationship between JFK and Marilyn Monroe. That's been proven. But as far as what happened, it's never been proven, and it never will be. He's a president, right?
Exactly.
Like, so it's never going to be proven.
And he's not gonna. I mean, he can't talk about it. Marilyn
Yep.
Monroe can't talk about it. Jackie can't talk about it. Like, so I mean,
Yep. Yes.
I do need to ask you, the
Mhm.
one scene that happens at night where it goes like night vision, Craig,
Yes.
did that like creep you the heck out? Like as much as it did
Eh,
for me?
No, I mean, it was creepy.
But like
Yeah.
Like, and I get that she's probably like strung up on drugs or something like
Yep.
that, but it's
Yep.
literally like there is a dude
Hmm.
that's just like on the wall that,
Yep.
and
Yep.
because I guess I don't know,
It's
it is.
it's supposed to, the way I interpret it, and again, he's being artsy, right? But the way
Mhm.
I interpret it is at that point in her life, she's heavily into drugs, heavily, and the doctors are heavily giving her drugs, right? So
Yeah.
like she was at that point would have been seeing things, perceiving things differently than they actually were. I think that's what they were going for. You're
Yeah,
trying to
I
get
was
her mental state, see how
yeah, I
she
was waiting
sees.
for a jump scare. Like,
Yeah.
luckily I didn't get one, but like
Right.
I was like
Right.
grasping my
Yeah.
couch, like, when
Yeah.
is it coming? I gotta get
Yep.
ready.
Yep.
She had her black swan moment,
Yes.
essentially.
Yes. Hmm. But yeah, I can say that I enjoyed it for what it was. Not a happy movie, but I thought it was done well.
Yeah, for sure. The blonde everybody. Weird.
Blonde, jazz
uh
hands.
okay, so Craig, you didn't watch Fall, you said, right?
No, I am thoroughly excited to do it, but I can't bring myself
Okay.
to buy it because I think I might hate it.
I won't spoil anything. Um I think everybody, like, you go into this movie and you're like, I know what this is going to be, right? They're going to climb the thing, they're going to get stuck. Are they going to get down? That's the whole point, right? Um it's pretty much that. I will say that there was a twist in there that I did not see. And
Okay.
when they revealed it, I was like, "Oh, okay." Like that was a nice twist that I should have seen, but I didn't. Totally
Hmm.
didn't. Um I didn't think it's a bad movie. It's okay. It's a watch it once and you're good. I don't
Okay.
know if it's going to be streaming somewhere soon, right? It has to be. It's not a movie
Yeah.
people are running out to buy, so I would say wait until it shows up on like Netflix or something or Amazon or something. It's gonna.
Yeah. Here's the thing that I am doing.
Hmm.
If you have Paramount Plus, any movie that's done by that studio shows up 45 days
Yep.
after its theatrical or at least its normal release. I'm not sure if Fall is one of those, but like they just put a Beast with Idris Elba on there.
Right.
So like that's what I'm doing with certain movies that I'm iffy
Hmm.
about, like whether I'll like or not. So I'll have to check and see if that's one of them, but
Yeah.
I'll eventually like it'll stream free somewhere and then I'll
Yeah.
peep it. But
I look forward to you watching it just so you can see if I want to know if you see the twist because I did not, and I felt like I was like, man, I should have seen that. I just should have, but I didn't.
all right,
But yeah,
I'll
so
let you
yeah,
know.
once you do, you have to let me know.
Will do.
Bullet Train though, y'all need to watch Bullet Train because it's
Okay.
phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch Bullet Train.
Phenomenal. Brad Pitt's hilarious. It reminds me of like Kill Bill, kind of.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
Okay.
it's like a weird humor that works. It has like it also reminds me of, did you guys remember Smoking Aces?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
That's what I think it's closest to because they give you like 6 to 10 characters and they introduce them all with like their name on the screen, and then you're trying to figure out like, okay, how do all these characters end up intertwining into this story? I love that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
you're like, okay, I'm trying to figure out where everybody fits in, and when it does at the end, you're like, all right, you know what I mean? And my god, the cameos in this movie, they're everywhere. People just showing up for no reason for like
It's
2 minutes.
Bad Bunny's in the movie.
Bad Bunny's in it, and there's other
Yes.
Oh
people
wow.
that I won't mention, quite a few, that I'm like, "Ah, look at him. Oh, look at her." You know what I mean? That just kind of pop up and then they're gone. But yeah, Brad Pitt killed it. It's hilarious. Super bloody. Didn't expect it to be as bloody as it was, but my goodness, it's over the top. And phenomenal. So make sure you that's a buy. That's 100% a buy for me. I'm buying
Yeah,
that on
yeah,
4K.
I'm gonna excited to watch it.
I'm pretty excited as well.
Yeah.
And now the with the Smoking Aces, because like that Smoking Aces is the one with like Alicia Keys, Common,
Yeah.
Jeremy
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Piven. Oh,
Yep.
that's such a good movie. And I like that
Phenomenal.
style too, Craig. That's a
Yep.
good point.
Yep.
Introduce like 6 to 10 characters. You eventually kill off maybe like 3 or 4 or even
Mhm.
more. But like they have a story that they're all involved in and they're all starting like different places or like at least not in the
Yep.
same area. I
Yep.
like that.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
you get the little backstory on each character, and you're like, all right, how are they all going to end up on this train, and why are they all on this train? And then at the end, it just ties it up perfectly for me. It's
Sweet.
surprising to me. I looked up Rotten Tomatoes, and it was pretty low. I want to say it was like 50 or something, 50%. But I think this might crack my top 10 this year. It might.
Okay.
That's all
Uh,
I watched.
s- all right. I guess I'll throw out these horror films real
Yeah.
quick. Gungjam. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that wrong. It's a Gonjiam. A haunted asylum is a found footage horror film, South Korean found footage horror film. I think it's a couple of years old. I had been itching to watch it because my wife and I we watch a popular YouTuber, horror flick YouTuber, and she said that this is one of her scariest films that she's ever
Ooh.
seen.
Okay.
So we were trying to figure out when to watch it, and I'll have to say that I love Asian horror.
Me
I just love
too.
it.
So
I
good.
love it. This one is it's a very easy to explain found footage type of horror. There's a an asylum with a history of like basically the person who ran the asylum killed all her patients and then it's been boarded up. So what do we do in this common culture? There's a YouTuber who goes and try and explores it, right? So that's essentially what this is. There's a guy with a popular horror YouTube channel. He contracts 5 people to go with him, where he runs the show from the outside and they go into the asylum to see what's going on. Here's the thing that I have to mention if you're interested in this movie at all. It is a slow build. There's an hour and a half into it. There's a funny, humorous build up where you kind of see the characters on their way to the asylum kind of just have fun with each other because they all come from like different places, right? Once they get in the asylum, though, oh, so here's where I go back to the previous statement of I love Asian horror just in general. There is something about facial and body horror that is done in Asian films, South Korean, Japanese, Chinese films that is just transcending
Yep.
when it comes to horror, and they do it here. All the characters start out together, as most horror flicks start out as, but you're waiting as the watcher for them to split up. They hear things. Apparently, the dead owner of the entire asylum liked playing ping pong, so you knew when there was a ping pong ball or when you heard a ping pong ball that something was going to go down. And it all centered around them trying to get into this room, which was room 402, and that was where everything kind of manifested. That was where all of the terribleness, all of the major ghost interaction happens. So without ruining it, it's great. There's a possession that happens at some point that's very very unnerving, especially on screen, and because of what you can do with found footage when that possession happens, it's really unnerving. Like I got goosebumps just thinking about it. Like when you got to see that person when it happened. Um it's not necessarily insane with jump scares. I'm going to say it's just more creepy, get you
Psychological.
psychological. And again, I overuse this word sometimes when I describe certain things, but it is unnerving. Like
Okay.
it's the goosebump kind of thing, what you see on screen and what is attacking them, what otherworldly forces are attacking them. It opened up as the second most grossing South Korean film, I think, before Parasite.
Mm.
Parasite's South Korean, right? I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think before Parasite was even a thing, this was like the second highest grossing film in South Korea, and it's got a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
That's crazy.
So I recommend
Good.
it. It's only an hour and a half. If you want to see a bunch of people get together and have a little bit of fun for the first half hour, and then all like get weirded out by what they see, then I recommend it.
Okay.
The other movie is My Best Friend's Exorcism. That is done by it's originally a book by Grady Hendrix, and it has now been adapted into a film on Amazon Prime. I like this one. It's classified as a dark horror comedy. And what they have done is the popular algorithm is they've taken, it's supposed to take place in like the 70s. So they just threw all the music from the 70s into it. So the reason why we like shows like oh my gosh, Stranger Things. The reason why we like shows like Stranger Things is the same thing here. It's about two friends in high school named Abby and Gretchen. They're best friends. They spend the first 5 minutes of the movie showing you that and why. Gretchen is from the rich family. Abby is not so rich, right? So they decide, because Gretchen is leaving town, she's moving. They decide to have one last hurrah. They go out to this lake house with two of their other friends. They take LSD unwittingly. Like they didn't bring the LSD, but one of the other friends' girlfriends did. And then once they take it, they trip out. They go to this house that is haunted. Gretchen has a run-in with a demon, and Abby like can't find her, and then Gretchen just is fine.
Okay.
And the rest of the movie is you seeing that Gretchen is not. Like when the girls find her after her run-in with the demon, she appears to be normal. But then the whole thing is about Abby realizing that Gretchen isn't by her outbursts. She was like the popular girl in school, but she shows up all crusty after that, like really messed up.
Crusty,
And like
that is.
that's like, it's like the best way to describe her like outward appearance, because she doesn't take care of herself and such like that. And she like dabbles between that and then being fine. So what I do like about it is the relationship between the two friends. They have a hilarious guy that tries to help exorcise the demon with Abby, who is really funny. Nobody in there is really a notable actor or actress per se. I know that Abby is the person who voiced the somebody in Despicable Me and Despicable Me 2, Agnes. So if you remember Agnes, the person who voices Agnes plays the girl Abby. But it's a very fun, lighthearted take on exorcism. Barry, I know you're not a scary movie person. You would like this. There's not a lot of jump scares.
He won't watch it.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest here.
It's the movie Exorcism light. It's what I would show my 70-year-old mom, well, in her 70s mom, if I wanted to show her a scary movie. It's what it's not too tough on the eyes. And what I like is what they did is they took that time frame and how friends act in that time frame, and they just added that. What if you were in the 70s and your friend had a demon in her? What would you do about that? Because again, Gretchen is from the rich family, so nobody believes Abby. And every time Abby tries to talk about it with somebody, she gets like heavily ostracized by everybody else, because Gretchen's parents pay for some of the school, and Gretchen's parents, are rich and loaded. So you get that aspect too. So I recommend it. I more so recommend people reading the book. The book is pretty well written, and it's like 2019, I think, is when the book came out. It's not an old book.
Okay.
But I was surprised when they adapted it to a movie. So those are my two scary movies.
Cool.
And you guys should watch them.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for the podcast this week. Thank you guys for listening and hope you enjoyed. If you feel so inclined, if you could review it on your podcast listening platform of choice, we'd appreciate it. And share it with your friends if you feel so inclined to as well. If you're interested in getting a hold or a contact of us, we have a Facebook, a Twitter, a Twitch, and Instagram. That's the one I was forgetting. And if you want to, you can send us an email at highsensitivitypodcast@gmail.com. Again, we really appreciate you guys listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you
Bye.
later.
Later, guys.